Hello everybody, I'm your host Hal Curtis and I'd like to welcome you to The Space Industry by satsearch, where we share stories about the companies taking us into orbit. In this podcast, we delve into the opinions and expertise of the people behind the commercial space organisations of today who could become the household names of tomorrow. Before we get started with the episode, remember you can find out more information about the suppliers, products and innovations that are mentioned in this discussion on the global marketplace for space at satsearch.com. Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Space Industry Podcast by satsearch. I'm joined today by Nikos from Alén Space. Now, Alén Space is a space company based in Spain, which specializes in small satellite technology in various areas. They offer kind of everything from individual subsystems and ground stations through platforms and even end-to-end mission support. And Alén Space is also a satsearch trusted supplier. Now, today we're going to be talking about advanced communications applications in the space industry today. Very important topic as we're seeing the nature of missions change, companies scaling up certain areas, and indeed demand growing in different geographies and different aspects of the global industries, terrestrial industries. Yes, it's going to be really interesting to get into this and get Nikos' perspective and hear more about Alén Space's work in this area. Firstly, Nikos, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here with us today. I wondered if you could set the scene a little bit for our listeners by giving us a quick overview of your background and explain what Alén Space is working on today beyond the very brief intro that I just gave.
Yes, hello, Howell. Thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be in this podcast with you. And thank you also for the introduction. So my name is Nikos Nikolopoulos, and I am a space sales engineer in Alén Space. So basically, my background is in electrical and computer engineering with a master's in space technologies. And I have been working with Alén for the past few months. Now, what Alén is doing, as you mentioned, we're offering core technologies that revolve around space communication. We're talking about SDRs, ground stations, OBCs, and the like. Then our solutions scale up to complete end-to-end turnkey satellite missions. And our company has more than 15 years of experience, as our team of core founders has been collaborating since 2008. And we were officially established as a company in 2018. A major milestone also in our history was our acquisition by GMV in 2023. And so far, we are sporting 100% success in our projects. So this is something quick to set the scene about Alén Space and myself.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's about as good a success rate as you could hope for. Thank you very much for giving the listeners an introduction there to Alén Space. Now, as I mentioned briefly in the introduction, we're seeing increasing interest in communication solutions that involve space systems, and these are space-based systems. Now, these are being seen in different industries, as I mentioned, different geographies. But what do you think? Could you go into more detail and explain what you think is driving this increased interest and appetite for communication systems with the space-based element?
Yes, indeed, as you mentioned, we're seeing an increased demand for this type of applications. But to assess the reason for this demand, we need to take a step back and see how space is actually involved in our lives right now. So actually, space is becoming a key protagonist in modern society. And the reason is that it can provide solutions for demanding challenges. For example, climate change, natural disasters, governmental civil applications. We can do research in space in many scientific fields, etc. Now, on the other hand, we also have some significant geopolitical incidents that have been taking place as of recent. Yep, as we all know. So there we have seen that space can provide solutions for such crises as well. Now, as you understand, all this leads nations and private companies to turn more and more to space solutions. So as a result, the space sector is booming. This is the overall scene, let's say. And yes, specifically for the communications applications, it's one of the main uses of space. We have, for example, the need for connectivity with 5G IoT. So there are other applications such as spectrum monitoring, vessel tracking, a lot of applications related to communication. And of course, communications are at the heart of virtually any space mission because you need to transmit data to Earth and from Earth. Tied together, this is the reason I think we're seeing this increased demand for communications applications.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense when you consider that by far the primary mode of value exchange to and from space, is in terms of the data, which is all handled by the communication systems. And then there, as you mentioned, there's all these different areas where the appetite for this data is emerging, is growing, and in some cases has been there for a long time. That's great. It makes sense that we're seeing this drive in the industry. And specifically for the communication systems, this is an area where we have seen NewSpace solutions gain some traction, as opposed to those legacy old space, custom developed, larger systems, all the kind of traditional split between the old space and NewSpace. NewSpace comms solutions can sometimes offer systems with shorter lead times and lower prices, which has been the selling point for a lot of the companies that have cropped up in this area. So what does Alén Space specifically offer in terms of communication systems that could be said to be in a NewSpace mode of delivery?
Yes, the NewSpace companies actually offer short lead times with their commercial off-the-shelf components, and as well they offer small satellite platforms. Both these aspects lead to a faster time from an inception of a space mission until its realization, and also lead to an increased return of investment. This has been a game changer. At the same time, I would like to mention specifically for small satellites that by employing them in a constellation, you can cover larger areas with low revisit times. As these two aspects have changed the way space missions materialize, we have new breakthrough applications. And for example, if a nation wants to monitor its territory for marine traffic and do it frequently, they can employ a constellation with AIS payloads to do that. This is just something to set the scene about the new advancements in the new space sector. Especially regarding the communications applications now, I would like to mention the example of SDRs, or software-defined radios. Now, these SDRs, they are platforms that integrate hardware and software that make them highly configurable and allow the development of applications by the end user. And actually, they can implement a lot of communication standards and protocols, while at the same time, they can cover a wide range of frequencies. Here, we're talking about high versatility in these platforms. So in this regard, they can host applications such as ADS-B for air traffic monitoring, AIS, or VDS. These are some examples. At the same time, these SDRs can be used for telemetry and telecommand purposes or for payload data transmission to Earth with high data rates. They facilitate fast transfer of valuable information to Earth and from Earth. Now, in regards of what Alén Space offers in this field, we offer two SDR platforms, Totem and Trevo. Actually integrates one system on chip and one transceiver, and Trevo is highly modular and can integrate up to two SoCs and up to two transceivers. So with these two SDRs, we can cover a wide range of potential mission objectives. The choice between these two SDRs depends on the requirements that our customers have. So depending on if they have requirements for higher processing power or simultaneous execution of applications, for example. Yes, this was a quick summary of the SDR platforms and what Alén offers for this specific type of product.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, the software-defined category is a very interesting one, and I think as we're seeing more demand for versatile missions and systems that can have different mission profiles or change in mission profiles as well, I think this idea of a communication system reliant upon an SDR that has the ability to operate in these very different ways is very interesting.
Exactly, and practically the end user can also, for example, develop their own application based on our SDR platform and then see this application fly in space.
Yeah, fantastic, which is a capability that wasn't possible 10, 15 years ago, potentially, without great cost. So That's great. What about the other subsystems that Alén Space manufactures? Where do you see the market opportunities for these? There's such a clear niche, or not niche, opportunity for SDRs. But yeah, where are the opportunities for the other systems?
Yes. So apart from the SDR platforms that I mentioned before, Totem and Trevo, for example, we offer Triskel is the name of the product, which is an OBC and telemetry and telecommand module hosted in the same PC104 format module. So we're talking about a two-in-one OBC and TTC in a single module that actually saves space in the nanosatellite platforms that we very well know that they are volume constrained. At the same time, I would like to mention, and I'm really glad to mention, that we're soon launching a new OBC-only subsystem. So stay tuned for that. Yep. So apart from our OBC Triskel, OBC and TTC Triskel, we offer ground stations that can facilitate communications with LEO satellites in the UHF, VHF, and S-band. Now, our ground stations can be assembled by our customer, and they can implement multiple radio protocols, so they can be used in various missions. You have one ground station, and then you can develop different types of software modems, and you can use the same ground station to talk to various satellites in different bands, of course. And finally, I would also like to mention our mission control software. It's a solution that we have developed at Alén, and it's actually an important interface that we use as part of our mission implementation between ground and space. It facilitates some interactions with the satellites in orbit in an intuitive way. And the MCS is actually the interface that allows us or our customer to operate satellites and payloads while, of course, receiving telemetry data and scientific measurements. We can see that there are a lot of opportunities in the market for these products because more and more customers, be them governmental organizations, institutions, or companies, they're all reaching for space. And we see that the demand for small satellite missions is increasing. So our wide portfolio of products can cover the communications and data handling needs that arise in this aspect.
Excellent. Thank you for that overview. Yes, it certainly seems like I may be wrong, but a portfolio that has developed very logically based on the needs of the customers over the years and incorporate what is possible on the engineering side at Alén Space and where innovation can be brought to market. Very interesting. Thank you. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier the examples in the industry on the demand side of kind of breakthrough applications, such as maritime tracking for a whole territory. It was one of the examples that you gave, and how this is now more possible and cost effective using a space system or constellation now than it has been in years past, because the launch costs are lower, the technologies are better, the processes and everything are proven and understood. And I think this is a really key way in which the industry is maturing. So important to recognize this, that these opportunities or these application areas, they begin with a need, with a problem on Earth that a certain organization has to solve. And in these cases, the customers, the end users, the customers can sometimes be more agnostic to the technology that is being used and the solutions that is being used than we see in space missions built from a technologist's point of view and to try and prove this out and prove that out, whereas the end users for terrestrial applications want results. So I think in this case, we're also seeing this trend towards customers looking for full mission design, and particularly if they're new to the space industry or the space application is complementary to what they're doing terrestrially. And as we mentioned at the start, I know Alén Space has an offer here as well. So I wonder if you could discuss the end-to-end mission management aspect of what you offer and where you see the advantages of companies working with a partner like Alén Space lie, and maybe touch on when teams should design their own missions actually themselves as well.
Yes, exactly. Alén Space can design a full space mission, can design, develop, and materialize a full space mission, be it for communications or other types of applications. Thus, we're providing an end-to-end solution based on our customers' requirements. This solution includes the satellite platform, the payload, the ground station, the operation management, a true end-to-end solution. Regarding the advantages of this approach, let's say that a company or an institution has designed a payload, and the given company or institution does not have the capacity to design and materialize a full space mission. So they can just provide us with their payload and let Alén take care of the rest. Thus, we can guarantee a safe execution for the mission objectives that our customer wants. Of course, this also works if the payload is designed and manufactured by us. Then the customer only has to give us his requirements and we take care even the payload design and development. Now, another advantage of this approach is that the customer does not have to worry about compatibility issues, which to our experience is a common occurrence when complex systems, such the ones that are used in space applications, interface with each other. And this occurrence actually is something that is not thoroughly assessed by those that come up with a mission concept. What we can guarantee with our end-to-end space mission solution is uniform design and operation based on our in-house developed technologies, a true full turnkey solution. And yes, at the same time, another added benefit of our approach is that we can offer educational courses for our customers' teams. So these courses are carried out during the mission development and execution by us, and they revolve around assembly, integration, and verification and operations. For example, let's say that a university wants us to develop a mission. Then in the duration of the mission design, development, and execution, we can have the student team here at our premises and train them so they can get some know-how and real industry experience about the processes used. So they can get their payload in orbit, low risk, and at the same time, gain some new knowledge about how space missions actually materialize.
That's fantastic. That's a really great way to approach this kind of upskilling and building capacity in your customer base today and for the future and in the wider industry as well. So that's great. Thanks for explaining how the mission management aspect of things work. And I guess to bring this home a little bit more for the listeners out there, could you share some information on what Alén Space is working on next and upcoming real missions and projects that you have in the pipeline?
Yes. So actually, right now, we're expecting the launch of the satellite constellation, 5G IoT constellation. It is comprised of 4 6U satellites. It was designed and manufactured by Alén Space, and it will be launched in July, hopefully as part of the Transporter 11 rideshare mission with SpaceX. And I would like to mention that we're really looking forward to that launch. And also, we are now materializing the SATMAR mission. Actually, this mission involves the development of a 6U satellite platform hosting an SDR payload designed and manufactured by us. And this payload will test the feasibility of the VDES standard, which is actually an evolution of the AIS standard, to maintain connectivity and communication at great distances from the coast. And finally, I would also like to mention that we have an active role in the ESA project called LEO PNT, so low Earth orbit position, navigation, and timing, where we are designing a satellite platform. So for all these updates regarding our missions, stay tuned in our social media and our website.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Thank you. And best of luck with all those upcoming missions and launches.
Thank you.
Always nervous times, but as the launch cadences and launch reliability is increasing every year, maybe less and less nervous as with each iteration. So great. That's everything I wanted to ask you about in terms of Alén Space's work and on communication systems in space missions. Finally, I just want, perhaps on a more personal level, if you could share with us, I ask this question to a lot of our guests, a variation of this. I wonder if you could share with us what you are most excited about in the space industry in the next, say, 10 years. This is a really exciting time, lots of things going on. And yeah, what's really interesting you?
Yes. So personally, and also all of us at Alén, we are looking forward to contribute to the autonomy of Spain in the space sector with the development of cutting-edge technologies that, of course, are beneficial for society. And Spain is actually making a great effort to advance its space sector, with the National Spanish Space Agency being operational since 2023. Of course, by extension, this will contribute to the much needed autonomy of Europe in this field as well. Also, personally, I'm really looking forward to the establishment of human presence on the moon. I think it's an event that cannot be overlooked. And I also expect that the new space companies will be called to play a really important role in this emerging lunar economy. Of course, this endeavor of establishing bases and human presence on the moon will act as a stepping stone to reach Mars. And this thought of expanding our presence in extraterrestrial bodies has been in the collective mind of humanity for many years now. And it is amazing to see it materialize slowly but surely in our days.
Fantastic. Yeah, me too. Thank you, Nikos. It's a great place to wrap up. I think our audience will have learned a lot today from you about the different areas that Alén Space is working on, the importance of these communication systems for space missions, bringing this added ability to cope with the demand that's coming up and the versatility to adapt to different mission scenarios, etc. And the role that SDRs have to play in that is obviously clear. So that's fantastic. Thank you. And then explaining the other aspects of the products and services that you offer and where they fit in and relating that to actual real world missions, which is the most important thing, the actual genuine results that we can get. So thank you very much for sharing so much of this information with us and with all our listeners today.
Thank you very much, Hywell, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you again. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll certainly do it again sometime. And to all our listeners out there, thank you too for spending time with us today on the Space Industry Podcast by satsearch. We will include links in the show notes to all of the different products and services that Nikos has mentioned that Alén Space offers today. And you'll be able to find out a lot more information on those. Really appreciate you giving us your attention. If you like the show, please do give it a rating and review on your favorite podcast player. It really helps us spread the word about the work that these companies across the global sector are doing to improve the supply chain, improve the value chain, and take us all in some way or another into orbit. So thank you, and please stay tuned for the next episode of the Space Industry Podcast when it's live. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Space Industry by satsearch. I hope you enjoyed today's story about one of the companies taking us into orbit. We'll be back soon with more in-depth, behind-the-scenes insights from private space businesses. In the meantime, you can go to satsearch.com for more information on the space industry today, or find us on social media if you have any questions or comments. To stay up to date, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can also get each podcast on demand on iTunes, Spotify, the Google Play Store, or whichever podcast service you typically use.